What if I told you the biggest problem in America right now isn't policy, it's communication? Because when tens of thousands of people take to the streets, and at the same time, people inside political events send mixed signals, that's not noise. That's a system breaking down. And if I'm running for president, the first thing I need to understand is this. What are you, the people, actually trying to say? Let's start with Oregon. On March 28th, the No Kings rally brought out massive crowds. Estimates ranged from around 30,000 people to as high as 40,000 from aerial monitoring. That's not a small turnout. That's not a fringe group. That's a signal. That's a large number of Americans feel strongly enough to show up, stand out, and to be counted. And what they are saying: concerns about executive power, concerns about immigration enforcement, concerns about foreign policy decisions like the war in Iran, including conflicts abroad. Now here's the key. You don't have to agree with every point to recognize what this means. When that many people show up, it's not just opinion anymore. It's pressure building in the system. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because just 2 days earlier, March 26th, at CPAC, something unexpected happened. A question about impeachment was asked, and instead of a unified response, there was a strong support in the room. Even after the question was reframed, the response didn't fully change. That's not normal political alignment. That's a signal too. So now you have two things happening at once: large political protests and unexpected reactions inside political events. Different environments, different groups, but both pointing to something deeper, a disconnect. And if you're new here, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications, because we're breaking this down clearly every step of the way. Here's what this tells me as someone running for president. When both sides of the system start showing signs of frustration, you don't ignore it. You don't spin it. You don't talk past it. You stop and you listen, because leadership isn't about controlling the message. It's about understanding what people are actually saying. Now let's talk about tone. When people start using words like king-like to describe leadership, that's not just rhetoric. That's perceptions. And perceptions in politics is reality for the people experiencing it. If people feel unheard, unchecked, or pushed aside, that becomes the story, whether leaders agree with it or not. And this is where clarity matters most, because if leaders don't clearly explain limits, accountability, and decision-making, people will fill in the blanks themselves. And those blanks, they usually get filled with distrust. That's how you go from disagreement to division, and from division to instability. So what would I do differently? Simple. Say what you're doing, explain why you're doing it, and define the limits clearly. Not once, not buried in a document, but consistently, publicly, and in plain language. Because clarity isn't weakness, it's strength. And right now, it's missing. Because here's the reality. When people protest, and when even your own base sends mixed signals, that's not something to dismiss. That's something to learn from. If I'm president, communication isn't optional. Listening isn't optional. Because the future only works if the people feel heard. This is Scott for 2028, because the future isn't optional. I will see you next time.